Hey, Kathy, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bede?
I'm going good, thank you.
Good.
What I thought we'd discuss today is not who is Jesus, but what is Jesus. Okay,
Great.
and you see, what happens is when people think of Jesus, they normally think of the Galilean 2,500 years ago,
Right.
right? But what we want to look at is the presence of Jesus in our life, and which means the presence of wisdom and love opening up in our life as a new mind and new heart.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I want to look at it from that perspective. Okay,
Yeah.
because um, I want to tell a story. When I was about 13 years old, I was at boarding school and I was having a fight with this guy. Arguing with him, right? And this guy was one of those real huge kids. Like really, really huge, and his teeth were separated. Looked like a sort of like a right. So I said, because I wanted to win the argument, and I said to him, "You're just fat." And then he goes, I know, I've tried to do everything about it and I couldn't. And then suddenly, all of the attack that was in me, so here I was, in terms of my heart, the direction was attacking. I was loving to attack. That was my heart was full of the love of attack.
Mhm.
And the view of him was he was a horrible person, deserving of this.
Deserving. Yeah.
Okay, so
Deserving. Right.
so that was my mind. So my heart was, and then suddenly what happened was I just suddenly saw that I was just being so unkind, and I had an aversion, an actual literal an aversion to the hateful position that I was in, that I was doing. So suddenly I was lifted out of that hateful heart that was bent on destroying somebody, and also my thoughts of him as being as a horrible and nasty person, deserving. That was my mind. That suddenly disappeared, and in its place was that I had a kindness in my heart, and this kindness saw clearly the wrongness of the direction of my heart, and
Yeah.
and suddenly there was that I no longer saw him as a horrible human being. And this was before, I mean, I was 13, so I didn't really know theology or religion. I mean, I was brought up Catholic and stuff like that. But this was nothing to do with that. That was something happened that something opened up in me. A new mind opened up in me and a new heart opened up in me. And this is what I want to look at, in the sense that when we understand Jesus as the very living, the very, very life that is intelligence and love, and that intelligence and love, when it opens up in us as a new heart and mind, that is the presence of, it's also not only the presence of God, sorry, presence of Jesus, it's the presence of God, because God is wisdom, compassion itself, but God's beyond our reach, God in himself. But the presence of Jesus is also the life and light that Jesus is, or the wisdom, compassion that Jesus is also our real nature, because in terms of the metaphysics,
Yeah.
we're at one with God.
Right.
And the important
And
part,
Jesus represents the truth in us.
yeah, Jesus represents the truth in us and is the truth in us,
Yes.
right? And so, and the most remarkable thing about this is that to be ourselves in the fullest sense of the world is to be with God, to be at home in God.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about something natural here. So we're talking about, so when we talk about the right-minded thought system, we're talking about the wisdom and compassion that is Jesus coming alive in us as a dynamic force. It shifts us. It shifts the way we are being. If that shift doesn't occur, we're just playing with intellectual ideas, right?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So and so what we need to do. So what does Jesus solve? You see, some people think that Jesus solves everyday life. Now, it is good, of course, for people to have an understanding of God that's kind and compassionate, right? There's no doubt about that. But When we're looking at the world and we're praying to Jesus to shift or change our experiences so we can be happier in the world,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really going to resolve the problem.
Mm.
Okay, it's not going to resolve the problem because you see, what we're told is the very essence of the wrong-minded thought system is the belief that we are separate and apart from God. Now, this is a belief. This is a mind position. There is no God. This has nothing to do with experience. The experience. So I've got the idea. As a mind, I've got the idea. The presence of God is not here. God is absent. God is not real. The experience that comes from that is the experience of intense emptiness and loneliness, right? We tend to think that the problem is the emptiness and the loneliness. Oh, how can I deal with this emptiness and loneliness? Oh, well, I can have a drink. That'll be good. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe if I meet the right person, I can cease to be lonely. So I'm trying to fix the experience, but the problem is not the experience. The experience is downstream from the very idea I'm separate and apart from God.
Yes. And that is the root. That is the only problem. The belief in separation is the problem. The separation never having occurred is the solution. And really, the only two things we can experience here, once we join with the idea of separation, accept the ego thought system, is one of two things. I either do not have what I want, or I fear losing what I have. So there's no way to win here, which is the motivation to go within to the truth within us and say there must be another way. There must be another way to be besides operating in a world in which I cannot win.
Right. So what we're talking about is that this whole endeavor of trying to shift and control my experiences so that I can be happy is a loser's game. So we got the first position of the unholy trinity is the belief that I'm separate and apart from God. The second belief is that at my absolute core, I am evil. Now, this is a very interesting idea. We're not aware of that. We're unconscious of that, but we're not unconscious of the fact that the experience of I hate being what I'm like right now. And I can't stand being with myself as I am. I need something else to. So we have the experience of self-hatred that comes out of that idea, and not only that, in order to deal with that self-hatred, we then project it onto others. We dramatize the self-hatred by hating others, hating the world, hating ourselves, because this guilt is so pervasive. It's an ontological guilt. It's the guilt of being. So that being separate and apart from God means that we're going to have the experience of self-hatred. Oh, I can't stand myself. Why am I getting old? I can't stand being old. I can't. Why am I sick? I'm terrible. So we think
the alternative is a denial. We're either in denial that we hate ourselves or we're actively hating ourselves.
Yes, exactly. So we hate other people instead, because when I'm critical, I'm like a gun waiting to shoot. I've got this hatred, and what can I? Oh yes, I hate that person. I hate that person. But what I'm doing is I'm offloading this immense sense of self-hatred, projecting it onto other people, and then hating them, which feels so much better. But
so I blame them. They rob me of my peace. I still might not have peace, but I don't have the blame.
No. And also, they're the bad ones and not me. So I can feel somewhat pristine. So I have this belief that I am evil to the core, and this manifests as different experiences. Again, this is why Western psychotherapy doesn't work. You can try and do whatever you want with the experiences, right? But that's not going to resolve the problem, because we have to get above the material, because all experiences are material. We have to get to the level of mind where we can deal with the notion, I am evil. And we can't help but feel evil if we're separate and apart from the life and light of God, because evil is the deprivation of love, isn't it?
That is the thought system. That it's 100% hatred, it's
Hmm.
100% attack all the time. And
Right,
we try to see that, but that's the truth.
right. Now we come to the third one. Because we're so evil, we have the notion that we are subject to destruction. And because we're subject to destruction, we have all various fears that manifests as all of the different fears is this fear of destruction, of being destroyed. It's like the Damocles knife, the sword. You know, in Greek mythology, there's this guy that he thinks there's a sword above his head and is going to hit him any time, right? When I first heard it, I thought, yeah, that's me.
It's true. It's the ego's life, it's true.
Yeah. So we have this core problem is that we believe that God is not present and that we have a life separate and apart from him. We believe we're evil, and we believe that because we are subject to destruction. We even fear the retribution of the universe for our evil, or God. We fear the retribution, right?
And that is the basis for projecting out a world.
Right. And our world of experience as a human being in this world is a reflection of that unholy trinity. Right? Now, getting back to Jesus, right? So here I am. So what do? Do I go, well, I shouldn't believe that I'm separate and apart from God. Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. So when we go, because we have to, in order to understand the course properly, we have to always come back to the process of forgiveness. And the first step, of course, is we believe that our upset is the experience we're facing. That's what we totally believe. So let's say, for example, I'm having depression. Yeah, I've got depression. That's what's bothering me. Or I've got a wife that's just a pain in the butt. That's what's making me unhappy. Do you know what I mean? Or my physical condition. This is what's making me unhappy. Or the condition of the world. That's what's making me unhappy. So through my eyes, I am a victim of myself, other people, and the world.
Right.
Through my eyes. Right? Now, unless I get a new set of eyes, I'm in trouble. I can't, because while I believe that it's external events that are determining me, I'm completely unfree. I'm a determined being. There is no freedom there. And if I must by necessity try and control my experiences to make me happy, to make me
Right. That's the
peaceful.
only thing that makes any sense. If the world is real, we need to focus all of our energies out there.
Right. And I think they say that the purpose of the world is to keep us so occupied, right? Because we don't really want, we think, oh, I want the truth of God and I want the truth of myself and stuff. But no, we don't. What we want to do is our agenda is to preserve our sense of identity. And in order to do that, we have to constantly attack God. In other words, keep him out of our life. So that we can maintain it, because within the presence of God, I disappear as this unique, special individual.
Right. And I just want to be a happier ego.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
A
Now,
happier ball of hatred.
yeah. So the first thing is that, like with what happened to me, the boy, is that this wisdom, compassion is always continually shining. So the presence of Jesus as this wisdom and love is constantly shining. But when I'm turning and obsessed with the world, I can't be aware of them because I'm just so obsessed. It's like, if you were if you are totally interested in a movie, watching a movie, and I'm trying to talk to you about something, you're just not interested in me. You go, yeah, 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 but keep it away, keep it away. Right? So I'm like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So now, so with the first step of forgiveness, we have to first. The very first step is that we have to actually take our attention off the world of experience as our problem, and and
Right. I
and
think to
and
do that, oh,
sorry,
I'm
go,
sorry.
go.
I think to do that, we have to look at the fact that we have to not be as invested in it. So first, starting off, we're 100% invested in what's happening outside of
Yep,
us because we believe it's cause.
yep.
But then if we start to question that investment, like, where's your treasure? Where does your treasure lie? Is it really in trying to fix this world? Is that where my whole investment is? And and kind of question that.
Right. Now that's an interesting point. Because we don't want to get into denial, if I'm having the experience that you, Kathy, are causing me problems, I go,
Right.
okay, I'm at the moment believing that Kathy is the cause of my problem. So I'm not going to deny that. I'm
Right. Right.
I have to see, because you see, I have to bring the darkness to the light and intelligence and love that Jesus is. So I go, okay, here I am. The teaching says or you say that my problem is not external, because that's the teaching of Jesus through the course.
Yes.
I don't believe that. Please help me see that my problem is not external. Now I'm I'm not trying to change myself. I'm now
Mhm.
asking for help. I'm no longer I'm no longer now trying to change Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm now
Right.
asking, I'm saying, okay, I believe that Kathy is the cause of my problem. I can see that I believe that external circumstances are causing me upset. Please help me see that I'm never upset for the reason I think.
Yes. And see, those words really mean that you don't care at all about what I do or anybody else does. There is your experience is totally divorced from that. And I think that I'm never upset for the reason I think is so simple and it's such a beautiful way of saying I don't care about that thing. So the question is, what is really bothering me?
Right. And so what's happened is by that prayer, when I ask to see properly, I'm no longer asking the world to change. I'm
Yeah.
asking for a change in me, in the way I see. What I'm wanting is the wisdom of Jesus to open up in my mind as my own wisdom, because that's the only thing that saves me.
Yeah.
So, so notice how we're not talking about any denial. Oh, well, the course says I shouldn't blame the environment. Well, I mean the environment, right? So the fact of the matter is, I have to stay with the truth of what I'm like, because, and what it says interestingly, that forgiveness does nothing. When I truthfully see that when I trying to change experiences are not going to work,
Mhm.
but when I but and then I see that where the level of the problem is, because I go, okay, I'm I'm not seeing it. It might be true, but I'm not seeing it. Please help me see it.
Yeah.
What I brought to Jesus is the real problem. The real
Right.
problem is how I'm seeing,
Yes.
not the experience I'm having. And
Yeah.
that's a major difference. There's a major difference there, isn't there, Kathy?
There is. And I think, you could think of Jesus as the truth, the reminder. The miracle does nothing but remind the mind that what it sees is false. Jesus does the same thing as the truth within us, as the truth of what we really are. And so there's that reminder. Forgiveness looks, waits, and quietly does nothing. The miracle reminds us. And we need reminders because, as Jesus says in the Course, my brothers are forgetful.
Right. So the very fact that the whole purpose of the course and the whole is to bring us home to God. That's the whole purpose. And once we understand that that's the purpose, that is the supreme good, being at home in God, we have a question. Is this leading me to be at home in God, blaming other people? Well, no, it's not. So when that becomes the context of our life, that opens up a whole range of cognition for us, because we can see, okay, at the moment, I'm blaming the external things. Now we get to the second part, because now we stop blaming, but we're still feeling yuck. We know it's our problem, but the difference is, in the second step, we know our problem is that right now I might be experiencing loneliness and emptiness, but the meaning of that, the loneliness and emptiness per se is not the problem. The problem is the belief that God is not present. So now here I am.
That's a great shift.
I'm now aware that I am believing that God is not present. Now that's a big shift. That's a big shift. It hasn't solved the problem yet, but from there I see I can do nothing.
Yeah.
So I turn to this inward teacher. I turn to this, because this inward teacher is always present as wisdom and love. I turn and say, please help me see that God's presence is that God is abidingly present, because I can't see that. I'm helpless. I can do nothing. So when I realize that, I look, wait, and judge not. I am leaving the problem that I'm having, which is the problem of the mind, not the experience that I'm having. I'm now leaving that to the action of this wisdom, compassion, because we can't do understanding. We can only receive it. And when Jesus's wisdom opens up and comes alive in me as my wisdom, that is the thing that gives me release, because I'll suddenly find that it's an interesting thing that when you turn like that and then you wait, and then you suddenly find, or a shifter, not suddenly, might take a bit longer, but what happens is you find yourself drawn to a new heart. You feel soft and gentle. You feel kindness. That's the experience.
Greater joining. Yeah.
You feel kind, and your mind feels clear and not cluttered up and not preoccupied. And what's interesting is that when your heart is kind, it's no longer moved by hatred. You see, and that's what changes us, because without the change in heart, but without the wisdom, that's not available to us. The wisdom is what opens the door.
Jesus, yes. If we join with the truth in us and step back and let it lead the way, we can rest in the certainty that whatever happens from there on, we don't have to be concerned with. It will come from a loving place.
Right. Now from the truth. Right. So what's interesting here is that when we're looking at the presence of Jesus, when I suddenly realize, I'm never upset for the reason I think, that cognition is his wisdom coming alive as our wisdom. I'm going, oh my goodness, there I go again. It's actually his presence as my wisdom, which is going to guide me back home, because I'm not going to get back home. If I still believe that the external event is causing me, I'm not going to get back home. I'm going to be moving away from home, because I'm going to be trying to change experiences. Then when we come to point 2, the place of forgiveness, we're no longer blaming, but we're being the problem. And we know we're being the problem, right? But we're not being the problem like, I'm a horrible person who can't know God. We're nothing like that. We realize the problem is cognitive. Mm-hmm. We realize the problem is that I believe this at the moment. And then, the second thing is the hatred. What solves the self-hatred? We're told metaphysically that our real nature is Christ. In other words, our real nature is the real nature that Jesus is, right? So then we've turned and we go, okay, it's in the appreciation of our innocence. So when we're at home in God, we appreciate ourselves in an entirely different way. We're no longer full of hatred, self-hatred. We're at peace, and we're being free And there's no guilt there. There's no self-hatred. There's no hatred of the world. There's no hatred of other people, and there's no hatred of ourselves. The fight, like my Vedanta teacher says, the fighter within us disappears. Right?
And the Course would say the willingness to be separate turns the truth in you to love into hate, unity into disunity and separation, light into darkness. And so joining with Jesus is letting go of that willingness to be separate.
Right. And now that's an interesting thing. It says that, okay, I only have to have a little willingness. Okay, I'm caught in this. Please help me. That's the willingness. I want something different. That's all I have to say. I want something, which is the movement of the heart. I want something different. If I don't want something different, then there's a trouble, because
Right.
it's not going to happen. But
there's only desire.
That wanting makes me turn. Mm-hmm. And then then it's the Holy Spirit that produces the change. Because what happens is, here you are, and so because freedom is truth, the real freedom is being myself. When I'm really being myself as a child of God, or experiencing down at this level the reflection of that, mm-hmm. that fact. When that becomes evident and appreciated, that's the only thing that releases me from guilt. Right.
The only reason it wasn't in awareness before is because we were denying it. And when we desire it, it becomes into awareness. I sometimes think about the lessons in 3 stages.
Yep.
The first stage, we learn that there's good and bad. The second thing is Jesus teaches us, we see, our eyes open, it's all bad. And then through Jesus' eyes, we see it's all good and there's no such thing as bad and it was all made up.
That's right. Yeah, because, well, that's interesting because for example, when I was fighting that boy, I was a fighter. That was my sense of life and being, you know what I mean? And I was getting a heightened sense of my existence with that hatred, because that's what you do. It's very exciting being hateful. And he was a horrible person deserving punishment. But that whole dualistic dream disappeared. Suddenly it just collapsed. And it was a strange thing. I still remember it because it was like something opening. Do you know what I mean? Now let's get back to the last thing. So we looked at the first thing, which is the idea that we're separate and apart from God. The only thing that releases us when we actually see that, my goodness, all that is here is the presence of God. That's how my Vedanta teacher put it. But we can actually appreciate all that is here is the presence of God. That releases me, that cognition releases me, and then I become peaceful. I'm no longer empty and alone, right? The second one, I'm no longer guilty. Now, the last one, the greatest fear human beings have is destruction, fear of destruction. Now, once we understand that the very life and light that Jesus is, the very wisdom and compassion that Jesus is eternal, is eternity itself. And we are being that eternity. When we are being love and wisdom, when we're being love and wisdom, we appreciate ourselves as immortal, not subject to change.
If you're feeling peace, then change has no meaning anymore. If you're experiencing peace, regardless of what perceptions, what images happen to cross your mind's eye, you're at peace. Peace is a constant. So if we are truly joined with the truth in us, we'll experience that constancy, reliability, certainty that we lack until we make that choice.
Right. So it's a wonderful thing knowing that we have this loving and guiding presence that's always there. And that even when I go, oh my goodness, I'm getting lost again, even that is Jesus's wisdom coming alive as our wisdom, and we're seeing differently. We're no longer totally caught in the dream. And when we have a wish for God, when that wish for God, or the good, as Plato talks about, when that desire for the good opens up in me as my heart, then my direction is different. because I'm seeking the good. I'm no
Right.
longer seeking to avoid the loneliness and the fear and the self-hatred. I'm
Right.
liberated from that. Sorry?
The direction follows the investment. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's important when we think about Jesus is that we're not thinking about the person 2,500 years ago in Galilee. We're talking about an active living presence that illuminates our mind and shifts the direction of our heart.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the right-mindedness, we talk about that right-mindedness is the wisdom and compassion that is Jesus coming alive in us.
Reminding us we have a mind.
Reminding us, yeah, and coming alive in us as a new life. So because we're being right-minded. See, sometimes I think people think I have this wrong mind. No, I'm being wrong-minded, as opposed to
Right.
I am being right-minded. So
Yeah.
could you speak
And
to that?
Jesus implores us in the Course, let my relationship to you be real to you, which is to say, let the truth in you be real to you.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a fantasy. What you think is life is the fantasy.
Right. And I think we can conclude is that with our practice in the Course, we have to be rigorous in the sense of unrelenting, that if I am not at peace, I am not understanding in the right way. I am not seeing through the eyes of Christ. That's the whole point, isn't it?
And it stems from fear. It
Mhm.
is terror, being too afraid. But yes, it's all bottom line a choice and not seeing, a choice to not see.
Right. So if I suddenly find myself not peaceful, what I can safely assume is that I am not seeing in the right way. It is
Right.
not some external thing. It is
No.
that that I am not seeing the truth, and because I'm not seeing the truth, and the truth being the truth of what God is, the truth of what Jesus is, and the truth of what I am and what my brother is. If I'm
Yeah.
not seeing that truth, then I can't help but be disturbed in some way.
Right. Yes.
All right. Well, that was that's an interesting point, and thanks very much,
Yeah.
Kathy, for that, Kathy.
Thank you. I think it was a great topic. What is Jesus? I think he's a misunderstood
Yeah,
his character,
yeah.
not being a
It,
character.
yeah, he's not a character in the dream.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.